It's a regressive tax. You can't make it fair on those on fixed incomes, those on working incomes. It is designed to benefit the top end of town.
If it's so bad, why don't you get rid of the current 10% GST?
Well, that's a silly question, Peter, and you know.
But it's so regressive and terrible. You just said.
Well, you and I both know that when governments put these things in place, and this is why we will oppose a 15% GST, because once it is put in place, it will be there forever. It is a permanent 5% tax
increase,
and whatever happens with compensation to workers and to fixed income. Well, the mining tax was different. I mean, the mining tax was an inherently progressive tax, and frankly, when you see some of the miners, their tax arrangements, you would think now. I think most people would think a mining tax, a profits-based tax, would be a fair thing.
Nick Champion, it's a misnomer. You know it's a misnomer, this idea that because something is legislated, it can't be changed. I mean, the introduction of the GST came about with the removal of wholesale sales tax. So this idea that just because something's already there, it can't be removed, that's not true. So if the GST is so regressive to go from 10 to 15%, surely you've got to get rid of it.
But you wouldn't. But you're a great student of politics, Peter. You're a great student of political history. You know that once these arrangements are made, unscrambling an egg is impossible. And so if people. If Mr Turnbull introduces a 15% GST, although even his own backbench is confused about what his plans are, I might add, but if he does introduce a 15% GST, or if he increases the base of coverage to fresh food and the like, and we've exposed these things in the National Parliament, we don't get answers. What we get is sort of lectures about how one might do tax reform or how one might ask a question of a government. It seems to be, to me, that Mr Turnbull is trying to be lecturer-in-chief. And what we actually need is a Prime Minister who says what he means and means what he says, puts his plans on the table, and then fights them out. But what we've got is a government that, frankly, stands for nothing and everything all at once. And meanwhile, as an opposition, under Bill Shorten's good leadership, what we've been doing is putting out good public policy to the Australian people, channelling, I think, that inherent sense of fairness that Australians always have. And what has happened as a result of that is this government has fallen to bits. Firstly, the Abbott Prime Ministership has fallen to bits, and now what we find is, in the very earliest of days of Mr Turnbull's leadership, he's finding opposition in his party room over his signature issue.
All right, well, we'll see if it's his signature issue. It's not policy yet, but we will wait and see. We appreciate you.
Well, who would know? Who would know?
Well, all right, fair enough. Uncertainty looms.
Who would know?
But we'll have to leave it there. Nick Champion, thanks very much for joining us. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.